Good evening, North Diary, week 35. My mojo has completely gone this week, totally. I'll explain in a bit why. So we're going to do something completely different this week. You guys will either love it, hate it, or be meh about it. Let's get into it and we'll see how it goes. If you're new here, my name is Ian. This is my channel, North and Forth. I'm a 50-year-old bloke who moved 600 miles away from his family in the south of England to live here in the countryside of Aberdeenshire. In this channel, I take you to interesting places. I tell you about my life, show you what's happening here on the house and in the countryside. If you like that sort of thing, hit the subscribe button below. Now I'm wishing I'd worn a gilet because it's quite chilly. So this week, what's happened? I've completely lost my mojo. I've just been meh for certainly the second half of the week. Work's been quite quiet, so I haven't been anywhere particularly exciting to show you. And I've been racking my brain and struggling to try and come up with something to record for the North Diary, because I think the North Diaries, I think you guys seem to like them. They're doing really well I don't know whether any of you have had YouTube channels, but when you put a video out, it ranks it 1 to 10. 5 is a meh video. 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, you're a bit like, oh, that didn't really land. But the North Diary ones do really seem to resonate with people, so I do want to keep doing them. However, I've not really been anywhere to give you decent content to show you anything exciting. So tonight is a walk and talk, and it's quite a big subject, and the car is still in the garage. That's going to be 2 weeks shortly. I've not heard from the garage, so I can only assume they're waiting for parts or to get it in for its MOT, or I don't know. So I'm a little bit anxious about that, because 2 weeks in the garage suggests that the bill may well be, I may well have to sell a kidney for that one. So yeah, the car's in the garage. The weather's been really dry. I've got a massive amount of stuff in the garage that needs burning up. The great thing about living in the middle of nowhere is you can have bonfires and burn all the crap that you would normally have to go to the tip to take. But it is so dry, and I really daren't risk having a bonfire. There've been 2 huge field fires that I've seen recently on my travels, and I really don't want to be the one that starts one of those and ends up having all sorts of resources deployed to put it out and piss off most of my neighbours. So unless the weather breaks and we have, maybe a week of decent rain, the well is holding up. I'm being quite frugal with water, but the well's holding up. Touch wood, had no problems with that, even considering how dry it is. The main thing I wanted to talk about in this video, which has affected my mojo this week and really sort of not knocked me sideways, but it has affected me. One of my oldest mates decided this week to try and not be on the planet anymore. And it came to my attention on Facebook that there was a police notice out, concern for welfare, looking for this chap. And I recognised the picture straight away. And I know men do this sort of thing more than most, and especially men of my sort of age, 40 upwards. So when I see these things, it's not a surprise to me. But when it's someone you sort of really know quite well, and you've known for a long time, it sort of takes a swipe at you. And I thought the worst, but luckily he was found, and then it all went quiet, and I was glad he was found. He then put a post on Facebook saying what he'd done, and I'm not going to go into the detail of it because I suspect this video will get taken down if I do, but basically he tried to remove himself. And I rang and left a message for him just now to really have a chat to him and just tell him about how I feel about those sorts of things. Because I don't even know whether I'm going to put this video out, frankly. Yes, I may not put this video out at all. So if you are watching it, I've been brave and I've taken a punt on this video. Could kill my subscriber base. Excuse the pun. So yeah, I want to have a chat to him and tell him that he's not on his own in this one, because he's a very cheeky chappy. Think Robin Williams, you know, not a quiet guy. He's very funny, jokes a lot, edgy. And yeah, he decided that was the plan. And I want him to know, really, that he's not on his own, because for the last 15 years, I have considered doing what he was going to do. And certainly in the last 5 years, I've considered it more. To say that I think about doing it every day would be a lie. I don't think about it every day, but I do think about it several times a week, how you could do it and so on and so forth. And don't get me wrong, don't all go phoning Samaritans or the old Bill. I'm not there, okay? But to vocalise this, because if you are there and you are, I'm going to cross over because there's a car coming. If you are there and you are thinking along that mindset, so yeah, I guess as a sort of early 50s bloke, I've long thought that I get very little joy out of anything. I don't really look forward to anything. I rush through things. I don't enjoy the moment. I often I've been waffling. I'm probably going to cut all of that last bit out. But so yeah, my pal decided to not be on the planet anymore, and I want him to know that I have exactly the same mindset, and I have felt like that for probably the last 15 years. Probably the most I felt like it has been the last 5 years, since 2020. My family think I'm depressed. I'm not depressed. I just see the world how the world really is. And that's not depression. You know, depression is a situational thing. I think. I've had antidepressant tablets. I've had therapy. The antidepressant tablets worked for a little while before they became the problem. So I came off those. Therapy was hopeless. It just seemed to be just talking unnecessarily and hand wringing and oh, isn't it this and isn't it that, and and I'm not that sort of person. I'm like, just either get on with it or do something else, which is why I moved 600 miles away from everybody I know. I don't know what I'm trying to articulate here. So yeah, since 2020, I have been very much, I know how the world works now. I know how people work. I see the reality of it all, and it's not the lovely, the world is not the place most people think it is. And I think also, when you get to 50 odd and you realise that, let's sit on the combine trailer, and you realise that your sort of job's done. And what I mean by that is, my kids are now grown up. They're 26, 28 and 22. So they're grown up. They're off doing their thing. And, grandkids are away off. And I now am not in my sort of business that I was in that gave me purpose. So you sort of, as a bloke, when you've had your own business, you've worked 12, 14-hour days, you've brought up 2 young kids, you were smashing along for such a long time, you then find yourself at 53 with a bit rudderless. Yeah, rudderless is a good word. Rudderless. So, start walking back because it's chilly. I'm going to have to edit the fuck out of this because I've just jumped from place to place. So when you actually see this, it will probably be a lot smoother. Somebody asked me somebody obviously watched my very first video. I'll put your comment up here, and said, I watched your first video, good first video, but you didn't actually say why you moved to Scotland. And that's about me all over, isn't it? Do a video about why I moved to Scotland, then not say why I moved to Scotland. So why did I move to Scotland? I'd had a dream of moving to Scotland since 2008. I came here on holiday with my family over to the West Coast, and I absolutely adored Scotland. I loved it. And I said to my now ex-wife at the time, when I don't need to be down south anymore, I'm going to move to Scotland. And when I lost my mum, that was the trigger, really. So from 2008 up until last year, I'd never been anywhere else on holiday other than Scotland. People think that's mental, that you go to Scotland. I used to come here 2 or 3 times a year, and it was an itch I had to scratch. So yes, that's why I moved to Scotland. I fell in love with it in 2008, came on holiday here for all of those years, and then moved here. So I hope that answers your question. I might do a Q&A if any of you are interested. Anyway, that's by the by. I don't know where I'd got to. So yeah, I think when you get to 50 odd, you start to be at a bit of a loose end. You start to feel like your sort of work's done. And more importantly, when you realise, you know, after what happened in 2020, when you realise what that made me realise is there is no one coming to save you. I used to have optimism, even, you know, if I went back 25 years to when I was younger, even if things weren't brilliant, you always thought that, do you know what, something will change, somebody will be elected, and I don't want to get into politics, left, right, and indifference and all of that, but somebody will be elected that will change things and they will want to improve things. And I think now that there is nobody coming to save us. You may think differently. And when you lose that, when you can't see any change in your lifestyle, in the way things are, both personally and in the wider country, that probably leaves you quite devoid of hope. So yeah, that's what triggered this chat. Hope you found it useful. As I say, I'm not thoroughly miserable. I've got a lot to be thankful for. I live in a beautiful place, in a nice house. I've got beautiful kids. And let's just touch on that point. You know, that's the reason I'm still here. Because I do say to myself that they want me here. If they weren't here, I wouldn't be. So yeah, that's the reason I'm here. If something dreadful were to happen and they weren't about, then I wouldn't be here. Anyway, that's been a bit of a depressing one. Let me know if you want North Diary walk and talks, if there's not been much going on. This is a new one for me, and frankly I've gone straight in both feet first with a very heavy topic. So I will understand if this video completely tanks and ends up 10 of 10 videos, because it's a pretty heavy one. Anyway, I'll leave you on the fact that, anyway, I'm glad my old mate is still here and didn't manage to leave the planet. I'm glad you're all still here. If you like general walk and talks, let me know. And we'll do some more of them. If you don't, well, I get it. And I will try and make next week's hopefully a bit lighter and a bit more being out and about. But from a pretty meh north and forth. And remember, it's never too late to be what you could have been. See you on the next one.